I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Tell the world Artie's home. The Ring Boys are back. Artie's back. Artie, how we doing, buddy?
What's up, brothers? I'm doing good. Yep, exactly. I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back home. Still working through some jet lag. For whatever reason, I had no issues with allergies when I was in Japan and Korea, but then the moment I got back home, my nose has been stuffed this whole time. So fighting through that right now, but we're almost back.
Love to hear it. We're fighting for the flu game. We're back. What was your UFC 300 watch party like? Give us your thoughts on the event before we go into the tonight.
So picture this, right? You've probably seen some sort of show or movie where you get to see traditional Japanese housing, right? There's a mattress on the floor, there's a table in the middle, and you got two little pads you sit on. That's exactly what it was. The internet was just good enough for me to catch a couple of the fights. It was very impressive. It was, in my opinion, the best card of the year. I don't care what people wanted to say about it before we got there. I don't care what people said about it after. Talking about Jamal Hill, it was good. It was very, very good. Anybody who slandered this card before it even started are idiots. I don't know how you can be an MMA fan and do that. But it was great. And like I said, I'm going to do 4 fights from this that I thought I was very impressed with, and I'm sure you guys will agree as well. I'll start with Davison Figueiredo. How, like, that first round, he definitely kind of was feeling it out. And then I want to say, like, the last 45 seconds, something switched. He smiled like Cody Garbrandt, and then he hit him with a couple of shots. And then when he was going to sit down in between rounds, he was smiling the whole time. I think there was something that he caught that made him catch the timing perfectly with him. But what he didn't do is keep that fight in the legs. He said, you know what? I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. I'm going to take you to the ground and submit you. And that's exactly what he did. He didn't struggle with it at all. There was a couple of submission attempts too. So even if it wasn't the rear naked choke, he almost had a Durst choke, I think, as well. Like, he was really working through it. But I was very impressed with that one. Honorable mention, Bobby Green absolutely stomped Jim Miller. I was sad for Jim Miller. My next one is Jiri Prochazka. Never call him a fake samurai ever again.
Ever.
You'll be put to sleep. Next, obviously, Max Holloway putting on knockout of the year, maybe knockout of all time. Just absolutely incredible. Exactly what the sport needed for the BMF belt. You couldn't ask for anything better. I think we will forever look back at that knockout. Maybe at the UFC 400, that'll be part of like the history that they show as it kind of moves up. And then obviously the main event, Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Yeah, exactly. As you saw the thumbnail that I made for 300, it was kind of a joke. I mean, Jamal Hill's still talking about it as if he had any sort of chance, even, after he's saying he wasn't out cold, even though if you watch any part of that, he was flopping around like a dead fish. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was not being able to fight for 2 years because of injury, or it was almost 2 years, but it 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 didn't look competitive. And not to take away from Alex Pereira, who might be the GOAT of the UFC, maybe if he moves up to heavyweight and takes that title too. But it was kind of funny, and I think that's it for the Alex Pereira revenge tour. He's revenged everybody on his team. What?
One person.
Who?
John Jones.
What? What did John Jones do to his friends?
Clover.
Huh?
Clover Teixeira.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
okay. I'm a casual.
No, you're not a casual. We spoke about this on the last 300 episode, but I'm glad you got to catch the event. Just one thing I'll ask before we move on. Did you make money on 300? Please tell me you made money on 300.
Yeah, I
Is
think
betting legal in Japan? Ever since the Shohei Ohtani?
No. Well, actually, Japan, lots of gambling, but no, not betting. I placed my bets before I flew out. I knew exactly what I wanted. I don't remember who I picked, but I was fairly close, and I think the only fight I missed on the main card was I picked Charles Oliveira over Arman Sarukian, and
Not a
I
bad call.
watched that. Like, Arman is a ninja, and I can't swear, but how he got out of those submission attempts is beyond me. They show him doing the breathing training and all that stuff. Though, like, that was scary. The short slipping off, the whole thing, it was pretty wild. That was a great fight to watch as well.
Sir. Well, I'm glad you got to catch it. I'm glad you enjoyed your vacation. Now we're back to work. Got another fight night to break down. We're just a week away from 301, and fight nights like this make me appreciate big pay-per-views coming up, because this was I wouldn't call it a waste of time ever, but it wasn't as great. There were a bunch of knockouts, bunch of submissions, and we'll get right into it. But overall fight night, prediction accuracy, Artie and I tied with 9 for 13, Doc with 7 for 13. Just seems like the boys are all scattered all over the place. Congrats to Artie on breaking his lock, or hitting on his lock of the card while we struggled. Overall accuracies, Artie 95 for 172, myself 98 for 172, Doc 96 for 172, and fight night accuracies, Artie 63 for 122, me 67 for 122, Doc 68 for 122, you fight night merchant. But we'll get right into the fights. Alex Perez. I was out Saturday night, got to the casino, played a little blackjack, was up, got to sit down, get some food right as the main event started. And man, I was feeling good watching him recover in that second round. And when he dropped him, I was going crazy, and I was like, I got to remember I'm in public. But took a risk here. I know it's taking a big risk on a guy who hasn't won in 4 years, but I think he did really good. And flyweight unders, baby, those are always hit. And yeah, boys, what do we think of the main event?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, that first round, I didn't think it was going to be close. He took the stool and came out swinging, and it looked a little similar to the Alexander Volkanovski knockout, where he just caught him with the right hand that he didn't see. But congratulations to Alex Perez. Obviously, desperate times for him to make sure that he's able to stay in the UFC, right? Like you said, he hasn't won in a long time. It's just it's good for him to be back, and this was pretty short notice for him as well, I'm pretty sure. So big time for him. Doc.
He got the opportunity because Manel Kopp pulled out of yet another fight. So yeah, I'm glad that he was ready. He was ready. He put on a really good performance. I think the first round was really close. I don't think that either fighter really did much. What I was impressed was Alex Perez was able to win because of his pressure, and every single time he threw, there was like 6 punches or kick in combination. And Nicolau wasn't ready for that. He's really good at strike defense, but at least one of those hits each time he would throw would get through. And I think that caught Nicolau by surprise. And although he's fast himself with the striking, the combos is what let Perez win this fight. Both put on a pretty good performance. That last shot by Perez was great. And one thing to note is that, the flyweight division is getting super exciting. All the divisions are honestly getting super exciting, but the flyweight division is exciting because all these fighters have cardio for days, but now we're getting some really technical striking and grappling where they're getting the finishes. And like Alex said, flyweight unders are the move. Next week, we also get more flyweights in the main event. And I don't think that this has ever happened before. And, it just shows, again, the direction that the UFC is headed, where everyone is just getting good and getting more technical, and it makes it more exciting to watch. Nicolau will be back. Perez says that he's ready for title contention. I mean, I don't think so, but we'll see where he goes. Good on him for stepping up, making weight, and putting those combos together.
I agree on the aspect that it didn't seem like, he dominated Nicolau, and I feel so bad because Nicolau has been waiting for how long because of Manel Kopp and Kopp crew taking their time canceling fights. So it just stinks that you're in camp for so long. You're like, all right, I'm ready to go. All right, now I got to go back to camp. And you're just transitioning into that mode where you're in camp, you're relaxed, and now you're back in camp. So I wonder what that does to like the psyche of a fighter. But a guy like Nicolau, he's locked in all the time. He'll definitely be back. Alex Perez title shot. Maybe you need to call Steve Urseg's agent first and see if he can get you in the mix, because that's just crazy to me. But yeah, good main event. I'm glad. I hate when main events go to the championship rounds, because it's like I just want to see them go at it. Like, you're the main event. It's Saturday night. We got things to do. Go put on a show. That's what Alex Perez did. So yeah, co-main, even better knockout in my opinion. Ryan Spann I took, thinking that it was going to go the distance. I thought he would have sneaked a decision in, to Doc's point of view, where he took him because would you say Ryan Spann fights a lot? And you were like, I'm just going to take guys that fight a lot. I thought Ryan Spann was going to put a better performance on rather just getting put to bed early. And man, that knockout, I slept on Bogdan. I'm wrong. I was not familiar with Yo Game. And I'm sorry. Artie, what were your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, just carrying over from Bogdan's last fight, this dude is terrifying at light heavyweight. He has some heavy hands. I'm not gonna say he'll be a contender or anything like that, but he is a scary dude. And obviously, Ryan Spann has much better wrestling than he did, and I thought that's how it was gonna stay. But like, dude, Bogdan is very, very, very scary. And this was a pretty quick turnaround for him as well, from what I remember. He didn't fight too long ago. So if he keeps this up and he fights 4 times a year, he could be in the top 15, top 10 as early as like September or October. Who knows? So we'll see. Doc.
It's going to be earlier than that. Wasn't Ryan Spann ranked 11? And Bogdan just knocked him out. So it's welcome to the big leagues, Bogdan. And he put on a great performance. Like you said, those hands were great. He had some good takedown defense. In the beginning of the fight, he got hit in the cup a few times. Maybe that increased his power. He was a bit more upset with what Ryan Spann was doing. But 2 great performances in a row. I think the other fight, he was also the underdog. So this guy, exciting to watch. And we love to see light heavyweights with knockouts.
The light heavyweight division is so interesting to me. I didn't know Ryan Spann was actually 11. That's kind of crazy. Bogdan definitely should have a number next to his name come tomorrow or come Tuesday, whenever they do the rankings. But like, not to take away from this fight or any credit, like a guy like Khalil getting a fight against Jamal, and like Anthony Smith just still getting fights and getting high ranked fights. It's like there's just so much going on, and the variety and the scarcity of the rankings. Like I want to see them shake it up. I think if Bogdan takes his next fight very smartly, maybe we see Ryan Spann fall out of the rankings if he loses again, if he fights too quick. So yeah, light heavyweight's fun, unless you're going up against Alex Pereira. Then it's not so much fun. But yeah, that was a sick knockout.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Smith might be gone after next week.
Become an analyst. ESPN. Yeah. Call him up. I'm done with them.
He'd be a good analyst. I think he'd be a good analyst.
Speaking of running your mouth, my favorite newly nickname I'm going to give Ariane Lipski is Ariane Lipstick, because she was saying she was going to put on this big performance, all talk in the presser, saying that she's going to dominate, and then she just shows up and loses. And it's like, what's funny to me is, Doc, these were 2 of your Lipski was mine. Never mind. It's just like
don't
fantasy.
Smear my name.
My bad. I'm not trying to credit you. Whenever it's fantasy fighters that I feel like that we've all taken, it's like should win, don't, and the ones that like we'll see actually end up winning, unless you're Artie and you've been going insane. This was a fight that I was just like, okay, yeah, you don't deserve to be here right now. And talking up a big game to get in your opponent's head is a strategy, but talking up and not showing up in the ring is not a good look for your overall brand, and especially in women's flyweight division, it's tough to get up there. So I don't know. Do we want to talk about this one this much? I mean,
I could say a couple of things.
I'll let you have it.
Ariane obviously coming off a victory over Casey O'Neill in her last fight, which she brought and I can see why she was doing all the talking, right? Well, her last fight was pure violence. It was very exciting to watch. It was a great fight overall. But when you come in and you fight somebody whose base is wrestling, and like it's not going to be pretty. They will take you down, they will control you, and that's exactly what happened. It just proves that the UFC is more than just striking and being good on your feet, because you can come out and you can look super flat if it comes with something like this. So
Right. Doc?
I'll just say that that's the same thing that I was expecting to happen in the next fight that we're going to talk about with the wrestling versus striking. The issue with not being well rounded on the ground and on the feet and women's is just the knockouts aren't happening as often, so you can't rely on sheer power. And although Lipsky got a ton more strikes out, she just couldn't get past Silva on this one. So uh, yeah, just got to get more well-rounded, got to start talking less. And yeah, I was wrong on this one as well. Just because of that performance that she put on last time, I became a believer, but I'm no longer. Ties have shifted.
Agreed. Yeah, flyweights, you normally see volume. We knew this one was going to the ground. I think it was Corinne Silva's like on a 4 sub streak, so the fact that she survived, I guess, is the only credible thing. But it's like, you got 30-27. It's not credible. Doc, perfect segue. I'll let you have this one. Deniz, I would hit the bell, but I don't have it up in front of me, so if someone wants to do that real quick, that'd be great. And then Doc, I'll let you have your moment.
Yeah, this was a interesting fight. First round, Deniz gets taken down. I think this was his first fight in the UFC. Maybe he has a storied kickboxing career. Very heavy striker, as we would see in the second round. But in the first round, he gets taken down and does nothing in terms of trying to get back up. No submission attempts thrown up. And it was a very easy takedown for Austin Lane. What Austin Lane doesn't have is cardio. So as soon as the second round started, he gassed out, and that's not good when you're fighting against a guy that's like a kickboxing champion. So he got pieced up a few times, and that was a quick end to the night for him. I thought that the knockout itself was incredible because Austin Lane still stayed on his feet for a few seconds where it was like lights on, no one's home. And then he slumped to the ground, and it looked pretty bad. Moral of the story with this one is I am not impressed at all with Deniz. I expect him to lose his next fight. If he fights against anyone that knows how to wrestle, he's done for, unless if he takes months, like half a year, to train one thing and one thing only, and that's wrestling defense. And I don't even know if that's going to be enough, because some of these fighters have been doing it their entire lives. So we'll see what happens here. But I'm not impressed by Deniz. I'm not impressed by Austin Lane's cardio, and that's about it.
yeah, I mean, if you're Austin Lane and you're gonna make wrestling what you do in the UFC, and you don't have a good gas tank, what are you doing? What are you doing? And to your point, Doc, for Deniz, the heavyweight division is evolving. There's a ton of wrestlers there now. So if he goes up with somebody who can just wrestle him down and keep him down, it's not going to be a good time. And to what you were saying, this was the second fight in the UFC. The fight before that, this is why I've been giggling this whole time. The fight before that, he won against somebody named Duarte. It was a TKO and then retirement.
I knew we were laughing at the same thing on the side.
So yeah, I mean, Austin Lane is Austin Lane. He's not going to be good in the UFC, but Deniz, you got to improve on wrestling, got to improve takedown defense, and it'll work it out.
I was going to make the joke if you guys think that was an early stoppage, but I've heard that so many times today. I'm sick and tired of it. But to Doc's point, I want to go back. Like a prime guy, like if Deniz went against like a DeLima, like I'm taking DeLima 10 times out of 10 if they went up. And I don't think Deniz has it. But I mean, we'll see. 32 is like a good age to be at, and like you're in your athletic prime, as long as you're not getting like murdered, and he's undefeated. I'm sure he hasn't taken much damage, so we'll have to see. But I see you trying to rebuttal here. What were you gonna say?
Well, I'm going to say two things. I think he got popped a few times with the jab of Austin Lane. Pretty good in the face, and for someone that's like a champion kickboxer, I wasn't expecting that. I was laughing because if he like theoretically made a run up and then all of a sudden he faces someone like Sergey Pavlovich, who like who, who would, yes, both on the feet and on the ground put him to sleep. So that's what I was thinking about. And realistically, I was watching the fight, and what was going through my head is, what is the point of having these types of fighters in the UFC where there is just absolutely no chance that they would ever get the championship belt? And I get it. There are some people that can evolve over time, like Alex Pereira, where he somehow developed great takedown D, but I just don't see it happening with this guy.
Can't agree. Can't agree. The other thing I wanted to say was David Onama just absolutely putting on a show in the last seconds, channeling his inner Max Holloway and just duking out in the room. That was like 10% of the coolness, but I'm glad they went for it. Bunch of whiffs. Felt like I was watching a baseball game, so that was great. But Onama digs deep, gets it right, and gets it tight. And just, if you look at the score sheet, look at the stat sheet, he loses on strikes, and the numbers don't look so hot, but you really paid attention to the fight. He was very calculated, very technical. Like he was kind of patient to a degree, but when I was watching his highlights, I was like, yeah, there's something about this kid. And I'm feeling like Artie's gonna go with him, and I'm gonna go with him. So when I was throwing my picks in, I'm glad we were on here. I thought this was gonna be a ringer for the Ring Boys, but I'll let Doc speak as to why you thought Pierce was gonna win this one.
Yeah, I know you were saying that he was calculated in the ring. No, he took a little page out of Ryan Garcia's textbook here and was calculated before coming into the ring by missing weight by 2.5 pounds. and we've been keeping track of it all year. The fighters that miss weight have a way better record than the fighters that make weight in those fights. DC made a comment during the fight saying the opposite, and I think that we should let him know that we've been tracking these statistics, and it's just not the case. Where now missing weight gives you a significant advantage, and specifically in this case, I think Onama only won because he was weighing more. And the reason I say that is because he was gassing out, even though he didn't have to cut the extra 2.5 pounds. So you force him to cut an extra 2.5 pounds. I don't think he even makes it to the third round. I don't think he has the strength to do all these reversals on the ground. Jonathan Pierce took him down a lot of times, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to keep him there for very long because of these reversals that I don't know how like a seasoned wrestler doesn't know how to adapt to that. But my only guess would be that the strength, he just wasn't ready for the strength that comes with the extra 2.5 pounds. It's why he didn't shake David Onama's or didn't touch up gloves at the beginning of the fight, because I'm sure he was upset that this guy clearly didn't put in the effort to make weight. So overall, good fight, even fight. I agree that Onama won this. He needs to start making weight. One thing that I was thinking about during this fight was that Onama got fined 20%. What if it was like a 20% and a point deduction?
Oh,
that would be like in the future. I was thinking like if it was just a point deduction, that wouldn't be enough because then people would come in overweight by 40 pounds. But 20% and a point deduction, that would maybe make people think a bit more. We've been focusing on like making that 20% higher, but yeah, I think 20% and a point could make them start thinking a bit more.
But then you would have to set constraints on weight, because like people could come in just like 6-7 pounds overweight. They'd be like, I'm gonna kill this dude anyway. I'd rather take the weight. You know what I mean? So it would be an interesting way to do it. Like you'd have to meet a certain threshold, and they'd be like, okay, we dock you this in a point, but
I don't think that would
you come in 7 pounds apart from 3. I feel like that's a little bit.
You can say no to the fight.
Listen,
yeah, Dana wouldn't let that happen, honestly.
Yeah, like I don't care. You have to be some super bright, shining, rising star in order for Dana to let that happen even once. I think.
Bo Nickel.
If you come, oh yeah, okay, exactly. If you're Bo Nickel and you show up 7 pounds overweight, yeah, they'll take some of the purse, whatever. Like it'll happen. Same thing with Kamzat, right? Everybody gave him a whole lot of crap for it, but there's levels to it. You cannot be a prelims on a fight night type of person, and then 6 pounds overweight. You're getting cut, and no matter when if you lose, like it's just what it should happen. But I do like your idea of taking a point from a fighter if they do come in overweight, because it does make a big difference in the third round, like you said. And I don't know how, like, David Onama is really, really big for 145, in my opinion. Like, Jonathan Pierce is 6 foot tall, but he looks lanky. Onama looks like huge. I don't know if he can make 145 again. Like that, it just, yeah.
What was
My thought.
135?
Oh, it's 135. My
Yeah.
fault. My fault.
No, you're good. You're good. The reason I know that is because I just looked it up on the side, and I saw an article, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, but this has been the rumor that the NSAC commission told him to stop cutting weight, and he was frustrated. So he said, Friday morning, my body just gave up on me. I had 2 more pounds to cut. I just couldn't cut anymore. I couldn't stop sweating. Body was hurting. I've never had that issue before in my whole career. I've never missed weight. This is the first time missing weight. I'm sorry to my opponent. So I like that attitude. This may be a one-off thing, but the point deduction is a very interesting thing, and I think we have something here, Doc. We should probably call Dana White, send him an email, say, hey, listen, stop power slap, buy this idea from us, and we might have something, or we'll knock him out just like Uros Medic knocked out Tim Means. I'm killing it with the segues today. But man, that KO was wild. I mean, I think we all knew Uros was going to win. Well, didn't he have someone else back out, and Tim Means was on short notice? But still, that has nothing to do with it. Medic is a problem in the welterweight division. I'm ready to watch him pop off here. So we'll have to wait and see. Artie, thank you.
Of course. Yeah, I had no problem picking Medic, and honestly, if he didn't get that knockout that early, that this fight might have gone for a little bit longer. Tim Means was not like a pushover at all whatsoever. It was looking very competitive, and I think one of the clinches Medic let go, and he threw in an elbow in there, and it looked like it connected pretty well. And maybe that's what gave a little bit more momentum to him, because they were in the clinch for a long time. But every time he separated, he definitely had something for Tim Means, and it was just too much the second time. So, yeah, Uros Medic on his way up.
Yeah, I remember that elbow. I agree. I think that woke Tim Means up a bit. It clearly hurt, and his game plan was taking it to the ground. That has beaten Uros Medic in the past. But call me Doc, Uros Medic, the doctor in the ring. We're gonna be picking him every single time. So great fight for him. And yeah, we'll see him back. Tim Means has had a great career. I think he still has a little bit more to give in the UFC, but so not an upsetting performance. That chin though, it used to not crack that easily. So definitely a bit of a difference there for him.
When you hit 40, it starts to get tough, no?
Yeah.
Hate to see it. Listen, the prelims were prelims. There were fights on there. Shout out KO Machado for ruining my night and ruining all my parlays. Yeah, you see this. You see the sheet on the screen. We don't gotta dive into it. We'll tease UFC 301 next weekend coming up. We're hyped for that, boys. Clinical analysis incoming from Doc. I was gonna say, go ahead.
No, before we get to 301. I know how proud you were of the results of this fight night, but your math skills, are kind of lacking. From what I'm seeing, already won this card, and you don't like accepting losses, but you only got. Would you look at that? I think you got 8 out of 13. Already got 9 out of 13, and what a way to welcome back.
We literally talk. We talk before we start the show. You can wait till the end to call me out and ruin my day.
What a way to welcome back Artie. So I saw it happen there, and I want everyone to see that Artie has been following along and getting these picks right. Regardless of the continent that he's on.
Grow up.
So thank you for
Mistakes happen. I'm human. Already welcome back. Good win. That's my bad.
I'm calling back. I'm calling back. Can I say one thing before we move on? Just looking at UFC rankings, and we talked about Bogdan and the fact that he's going to be moving up, in the light heavyweight division. How cool would a fight between him and Johnny Walker be? Johnny Walker coming off a loss too, like prove your worth that you're top 10 material. That'd be pretty sick.
I'm there if it's a main event, 5 rounds. I don't want that to be a 3 round, just like on a main card. I want like a fight night main event. Like, sure, I'd be down for that. I want to see that go the distance. I want that to be calculated.
That's not going to distance.
I'm kidding. I'm totally joking. For all you casuals listening, and to like my mom who listens to every episode, it was a joke. But yeah, my bad. Already wins the card. Do you want to have your Woody Page moment? You want to say anything to the fans that are listening currently?
No, not a ton. I'm really hoping that I can start to turn it around on the fight night accuracy. I should actually be 64 out of 122 now. Now that I've, wait, no, that doesn't work that way. But yeah, maybe I start coming back a little bit. I mean, I'm within a point of the lead now, or tied for the lead, so we'll get there. Fine.
Listen, man, you're dominating the fantasy draft. Do you need anything more? Doc, anything before we sign off?
I'm just looking forward to next week. We've been pampered here with the last two UFC numbered cards. So hoping to keep the streak alive. I think that there are some very exciting fights next week. Some prelims that have really important implications. So I think that I'll be tuned in for the whole card because of that. And excited to see Jose Aldo fight. And see what he can do. I'm sure that he's been training all this time, even though he retired. And I'm glad that Artie is back here. So we're gonna keep these episodes going. Work on a few other stuff for all of our viewers, and go from there.
Full strength. The boys are back. Love to see it. What an episode. The juices are flowing today. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of fantasy, Artie in the lead with 23 points, myself with 5, Doc with 15, creeping up. Doc's making. If we combine our points, we're still losing. Like that's just where it stands right now.
Hey, I said what my strategy was, and that was picking active fighters, and I've picked very active fighters that lose. So that is how I got my 15.
But the good thing about that is you actually have a chance to come back if if the year keeps going. I don't know about Alex. That 5 is that's tough.
Yeah. One thing I'll say before we sign off, my best ideas always come on the fly. Are we riding the All Brazil parlay for 301? Because Canada, we did that, right? And that just burnt out so poorly. But I'm liking the All Brazil parlay for the main card. If Jose Aldo pulls this off, we might be eating steak for dinner instead of oodles and noodles. You know what I'm saying? So stay tuned. I'll have to do some calculations on that. What do we think about that, boys, so far?
I think you're right. It could go that way.
They're just so heavily favored.
Yeah. I wonder, he missed weight last time. I think if that happens again, that might sway my thought on that a little bit. Because I feel like Michael Pereira is like a very, very lean 185. So if Eeyore misses weight again, there might be some thought behind it, not going that way completely. But I don't know. Otherwise, like, this main card is pretty cool. Like, obviously, like the first 3 fights aren't going to be close, I don't think, maybe, but we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Doc?
I'm just going to say that, in general, it does seem like the Brazilians are going to win. There's a few fights on here that I'm not convinced. One is on the early prelim, Drakkar Klose. And the last one, which is the opening fight, and we'll talk about this a bit more later in the week. But Alessandro Costa versus Kevin Borjas is going to be a banger. And that one, I don't know if the Brazilians can pull off. So we'll talk about it a bit more later this week. But yeah, excited to see what happens there.
All I know is I'm gonna be barking like a dog when Jan Sivo wins and puts on the glasses and starts just barking into the camera aggressively after he beats Gomes. I pray that happens, but we'll have to wait for a week. It's been the Ring Boys. Artie, again, good to have you back, and we'll catch you later. Bye bye.